Hello and welcome to the Nintendo Bros podcast.
Hey, I'm Derek.
Well, I was waiting for you there. And this is Peter, and we are actual brothers, and we are here to talk about all things video games with a specific focus on Nintendo. How are you this week, Derek?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Pretty good. So not a ton of news since our last episode, but
Yeah, kind of a slow few weeks.
yeah, but there is some stuff to talk about, especially on the non-Nintendo front. Okay, well, let's start off with what I consider the big news. Is that it's been reported that Nintendo's expecting a huge year, and they're expecting to sell 250 million units of software, which would be a record for them. And just as a little info here, in 2020, last year, which ends in the end of March, they're expected to sell around 205 million, and their previous height was in 2008 with the Wii with 204.6 million. So this year they're expecting to sell 250 million units of software. Now, what do you think about that?
I think, I'll be shocked if they do that, but I think it also points to really good signs that they're going to have some heavy hitters in the second half of 2021.
Yep.
I think, I don't know about Breath of the Wild 2, but it seems like that could be the game they're hoping to sell tons. But I'm thinking more so, it has to be, I know that game will sell like crazy when it first comes out, but I'm thinking about games that will sell, that much like day one. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I could see things like Mario Kart 9. I could see things like Metroid Prime. Well, Metroid Prime don't sell that well, but
That's not coming this year.
yeah, I know. And then I think I'm assuming Pokemon counts in their total. So yep. I'm sure the Pokemon remakes plus Pokemon Snap will add up to a lot.
Well, actually, I believe this software number refers to all software on Switch, so it could even be a third-party software.
Okay. So
yeah,
maybe some third-party big games coming too.
Yeah, so, and it's interesting that Monster Hunter Rise, which will probably end up selling about, who knows, maybe up to 10 million copies, is coming out in this in like the 2020 fiscal year, but there's going to be some expected like sales. A lot of those sales will actually be in April, because it comes out at the end of March. So that will be a contributing factor as well. There was a quote here from Bloomberg that says there will be a series of marquee game releases. With analyst Sirkin Toto, he says it'll be a much stronger blockbuster software lineup and new hardware, like to go along with the 4K Switch rumors we talked about last week. You said something kind of interesting there about, even if Breath of the Wild 2 did come out, how much can we realistically expect it to sell in this year time frame, right?
Like, if you think about it, they have to sell another 45 million units on top of what they did last year, which is like having Animal Crossing coming out. So,
but other than Animal Crossing last year, they didn't really have any massive heavy hitters. Maybe 3D All Stars. I think it did about 5 to 10 million. But Animal Crossing, I would have considered 2020 not a hugely strong year, and they still smashed records. So it's like they could release nothing this year and maybe do it again,
Yeah, all their games are selling well. I'm right now we don't know anything after, Pokemon Snap and Mario Golf. So I'm curious about because they must have at least one heavy hitter. Because again, Animal Crossing sold, 25, 30 million or whatever it is, 35 even. And they're 45 million units short of what they expect to do this year. So they've got to have some big games lined up.
Yeah, and I think one of the things to keep in mind is they have kind of like this evergreen list of software, right? So games like Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey, Mario Kart 8, those types of games will keep on selling.
Yeah.
So, I almost am leaning on the side of saying, well, will it be as strong as we really think it'll be? Or is it just their kind of estimation of hardware sales plus new hardware, and maybe just having like the regular type of marquee holiday titles that they would normally have, and just resting on some of those other games' sales? I
just think 45 million is like, think about percentage wise, like they're expecting 40% gain on their unit sales.
True.
Sorry, 20%.
And one thing to keep in mind is that up until March 2022 counts for this fiscal year. So even if something like Breath of the Wild 2 came out in November,
You'd have
and
5 months, yeah.
maybe it sold 5 million copies this year, but it might reach that 10 million mark. I mean, hopefully by next March. So, but you're right. It's like, I mean, you can say, hey, a new Mario Kart will come out, but will a new Mario Kart sell 20 to 30 million units in 1 year, or even less, 5 months? I don't think so. I mean, it took Animal Crossing a full year. I mean, and a pandemic to sell 22 million or 25 million, whatever it's at. I think it's around 20 million actually.
So here's my two wild ideas. So one, I think if they release a new like the Switch Pro or whatever it will be, the HD 4K Switch, they could resell all their games as 4K, right? They could. I mean, Nintendo,
That would be a terrible decision.
I'm just saying I wouldn't put it. This is again a crazy idea. I wouldn't put it past Nintendo to say, "Hey, you want to play Breath of the Wild 1 at 60 frames, 1080p, or 4K 30 frames, and you want to play Mario Kart 8 the same thing, and you want to do Luigi's Mansion 3 the same thing, and Super Smash Bros. Ultimate the same." Like, I could see them doing this. Like, seriously, lining. I could see them doing that. And the other idea I think is they could say, "Here's the Switch HD 4K system, and here's 3 new games. Boom, boom, boom. Here is Breath of the Wild 2, Mario Kart 9, and one other game," and saying here's or a new Fire Emblem or something. I don't know. Saying here's 3 games coming out the day the HD Switch comes out.
I mean, I doubt they would do that. Just, I mean, both of your comments on one. I think, given the pedigree or the standard that both Microsoft and Sony have set with their kind of like 4K upgrades across, Xbox One, PS4 Pro, and PS5 and Xbox Series, Nintendo would be it'd be a lot of bad press for them to try to resell the same game with a marginal hardware boost.
I hear what you're saying, but these are the guys that sold Mario, a trilogy of Mario games for $60. Like, it's
And it was worth
Nintendo.
it.
Nintendo has. I know. I just mean. I agree. Nintendo has a way of they can sell all of their games and remakes of games for even if it's just a slight upgrade, and they could probably sell it full price. And people will buy it. Like, look at what they did. If you want the best example is the Wii U games on the Switch. Think of how many Wii U games are on the Switch sold at full price that sold really well.
And
right?
were
Like,
priced higher on the Switch than they were on the Wii U.
exactly. Like Tropical Freeze, for example, right? It didn't come out that much later than it did on the Wii U, and it still sold well at a full price tag. So
But I think the major difference is that something like Tropical Freeze, it's on a whole new console. So it's like not only did they add Funky, which was huge, and they bumped it up to 1080p resolution, but it also came out, I don't know, 4 or 5 years after. I think it was 4 years later, and it's also now on a handheld new portable device. So it's a little different.
I'm just saying, if they market it as a new system, and like, think of it, the new 3DS, right? There are new 3DS games. They obviously are willing to go that route. I think that small jump can have exclusive games, and they might just make all of their old games exclusive. Like,
No, I really don't see the other reason I don't see that happening, or see it even less likely. Is
Again, I
because,
think it's a crazy idea, but I just
but I also think Nintendo doesn't want to confuse their consumers, and no mom and dad want to walk into a store and see 2 versions of Mario Kart 8, one for this Switch and one for that Switch. Like, I just don't think they're going to want to confuse their branding.
I know, but I'm just saying they could just put 4K at the end of every single game.
True. I mean,
but the other thing is, you said that Sony and Microsoft aren't doing it; they're doing the free upgrades. That's sort of true, but a lot of third-party companies aren't doing that, right? They're like Crash Bandicoot. I don't know if Crash Bandicoot is the best example, but like Neo 1 and 2 being resold at 4K, Tony Hawk Pro Skater being sold at 4K, increased price,
I think but if you own Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 on PS4, it's not a full price upgrade. Right? Isn't it only like a $10 or $20 upgrade?
Yes, I see that. Okay, then maybe they can do that too. I don't know how that works for unit sales, but I'm just saying there are some weird strategies you can do when you have a new system coming out that I think could help drive this 250 million sales.
I mean, I don't see that happening, but there's a few other things I do see happening. I think
Can I? Sorry, can I interrupt one more time and just ask a
Yes.
question? Does this include downloadable content units, or is it just like retail? Like how does that work? Full
This
priced or?
I believe this includes downloaded like eShop sales as well, like digital
So I mean,
downloads.
they could maybe another strategy is throwing out all the NC4 games on the eShop, right?
Oh, that it wouldn't. I don't think this is counts as full retail. Sorry, even though it counts as full retail games, I don't think like a small downloadable game would count. Do you know what I mean? Like
Okay, yeah. I just didn't know what the differentiator was.
yeah, like I don't think that would count because you wouldn't be able to buy those in stores. But one thing I can see them doing, besides for a strong software lineup, is they could have like a player's choice lineup, right? So now they could take like 8 of their biggest Switch games, release them for a discounted price, and then expect to see those all boost up in sales. The other thing they could do is they could do a little more aggressive with the bundling. If they have if they're releasing a Switch 4K, they could make the regular, so they could start bundling aggressively with 1 or 2 games packed into with your Switch, and that's going to also bolster the sales as well. So I'm not saying those. It's probably a mix of all of these things, right? That's going to get them there. But I think it's funny. It's like, what games would in the second half of the year could really get them there? I mean, we can talk about Metroid and Pikmin and Kid Icarus. It's not going to happen. It's got to be the Marios and Zeldas.
I mean, there is a good chance that there is a Mario Odyssey 2, right? But I think we overlook Skyward Sword, but I think Skyward Sword will sell a couple million, and then we have Breath of the Wild 2, and then maybe another heavy hitter like Mario, or again, I think Fire Emblem's entering that category, being a heavy hitter. I think we could see another Fire Emblem.
But Fire Emblem only sold 2 to 3 million on Switch, 3 houses. So we're not really looking at those types of games. We're looking at like mega games, and
I thought it sold a lot more than that. That's my
I
bad.
don't think it even got over 5 million. I mean, that's huge for that type of strategy RPG. But I think we need to almost think bigger, right? It can't.
So what are the possible games? So we already know Pokemon's coming out and the remake's coming out.
And those will be an easy 10 to 12 million each. We know Monster Hunter Rise could get up to 10 to 15 million and sell up to Monster Hunter World level. And that's something that most of its sales will be in 2021. I think the one that you're discounting and everyone seems to be discounting is another Mario Party. Super Mario Party sold over 10 million units on Switch, and there hasn't been a sequel. There's no DLC. I think that's going to be a surprise seller, and that could come out as early as September.
Yeah, I can see that, or a WarioWare even.
Yeah, but even still, like you mentioned, those 2 won't be enough. And I don't think they can rest on their evergreen titles from the past to get them the bulk of the way there. I think it's going to be a mix of aggressive bundling. Maybe a player's choice lineup, and then it's got to be those heavy hitters. It's got to be maybe Breath of the Wild 2. Like
I have a strong feeling that even if Breath of the Wild 2 is early 2022, it will be. I'm assuming it will come out the same time the HD Switch will come out. It'll be it's launching with the new Zelda, just like the first Switch launched with Breath of the Wild.
Yep, I agree.
I just think that's
You said on our last episode that you didn't think the 4K Switch was even going to come out this year. Do you change that belief now, or?
I mean, now has there been more news? You said, right? Isn't there more news about it?
Well, it's all this is rumors. I mean, even this 250 million software sales, it's not confirmed. It's not like Furukawa
I
came
thought
out
that was
and
like
said that.
at a financial report or something.
No, it's not even speculation. It's just like an insider report.
Oh, okay. So I mean,
but Bloomberg's not usually wrong about their rumors.
I know they're usually pretty good about that stuff. If that really is the target and their Bloomberg is saying that, I'm more likely to believe it. Mm-hmm. But again, I mean, the Switch is still selling so well. I don't know. I don't know enough about business or how these things are working or what Bloomberg said, but I'm more likely to believe it now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think whatever comes out is going to replace the Switch. I think it's going to be like a Switch Pro or a DS.
Yeah, like like how the PS4 Pro was.
Yeah, or like a 3DS XL. And I mean, with that said, whenever they do release a Switch 2, I think it'll also be fully backwards compatible. I think they're going to stick in this infrastructure for a long time.
Oh yeah, I agree. I think we could see even like the Switch 2 still be the same kind of handheld console kind of.
It could be the exact.
hybrid.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's interesting. So this kind of leads up to my next point here. Shintaro Furukawa, the president of Nintendo, he had a couple statements he made recently. And he said things along the lines of, Switch has entered its middle phase. And he says things like, no matter how big of a hit you have, people will always lose interest in an entertainment device. And the other thing is that he said that he views every year like a do or die situation, which is interesting because that's how I view it too. Um, but to me, it kind of says that I don't think he's going to... I think they're going to try to get this upgrade out before sales start to dip. So I don't quite buy into the argument that Switch sales are so strong they don't need to release it. I think if anything, that's why they didn't release last year. COVID and the strong sales. But now it's just kind of getting to that point where it's not just about it's not just about the strength of the original Switch sales. It's also about hardware and keeping up with the hardware of
limitations.
Yeah, and we've also seen things like with Hyrule Warriors and games like even the new Pokemon, like they kind of look like they need that extra power. But I think if we're going back to our predictions for 2021, it's before March. I actually do feel like we'll probably see Breath of the Wild 2 before March. We'll see the new open world Pokemon. We'll see the new Mario Party. We'll have Monster Hunter Rise. Maybe we'll see like another kind of more hardcore title in there that won't sell as much, like a Bayonetta 3 or a 2D Metroid. And we'll also maybe see Splatoon 3. It's not impossible to suggest that we've got
I think you're right. Splatoon 3, I think, will be coming out this year. That's the heavy hitter.
Not this fiscal year, because they did say 2022, but it could very well be like a March game.
That game sells like crazy. So
yeah, like we could be looking at as early as a September announcement for like a September release for a Switch Pro alongside a new Breath of the Wild, and then a holiday with Mario Party, Pokemon, and then following up next year early with a open world Pokemon and a new Splatoon. Like that to me is enough to get to that. That's a huge lineup if you think.
Yeah,
it's almost unrealistically huge, but 250 million is a lot.
Yeah, if that's their aim, they have to do something crazy like that. I still am skeptical about that being their sales target. That just seems unrealistically high.
Well, I never would have predicted that they would have broken records this year based on the back of Animal Crossing. Like I never would have. Like what else came out in 2020? Like Paper Mario certainly did. Paper Mario did I think around 5 million. 3D All Stars did around 5 to 10 million, and Hyrule Warriors did around 3 million. So it really was Animal Crossing and the Evergreens that got it there. So now it's just another. Do we really need as many of those releases to get there as you think? Like it's an insane number, but did you predict that happening last year? I didn't.
I don't know. Last year was such a weird year with COVID and people being at home. It's kind of hard to predict how sales would be.
Yeah, I think a lot of people wanted to Switch the moment they were locked down, right? It became impossible to find. But for me, it kind of builds a lot of hope. And like you said, we shouldn't downplay Pokemon Snap. Could do 10 million or at least 5. Skyward Sword HD could do 5. Mario Golf could do 5. And all these games that are coming out will be big, right?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Let's moving on here. It is March, and at the end of this month, Mario 3D All Stars is going to go away, and that's been reconfirmed. We all kind of hoped they're going to pull the rug. They were going to, I guess, the opposite of pull the rug from us, put the rug back and say no, we're going to keep it available. What do you think about this?
I didn't like it from the beginning it was announced, and I still don't like it. I think it's one of the first times where people are really realizing the downside to digital owning. Because
how is that a downside to digital owning though?
I was gonna say if you.
Sorry, I bought it digitally. It's gonna be on my SD card for the end of time.
No, I agree. I'm just saying, if you, let's say, erase it or your SD card breaks or whatever, you can't get it back.
Yeah, I can. Oh. That's true. Is that true? Like I can't re-download something? Like let's say, what if?
I don't know. That's what I assumed.
What if I'm, so to speak, cleaning out the fridge, and I'm like, okay, I need to make room for some new games. Can I not? I didn't even think about that. Can I not?
I'm not sure.
Clean out the fridge.
I guess I saw it the opposite way.
I'm
sure that's been confirmed that you're probably right. I haven't.
But also it is pretty blasphemous to be like, yeah, you can re-download this software, like you can re-download the whole thing, but like you can if you haven't done it before.
But this is like one of those few times where I would say, like almost ever in any gaming stratosphere, where they've removed a game from being able to be purchased on the system that it was on.
I mean, the last time I can think of that happening was probably there was a Clay Fighter on N64 called Clay Fighter 63 and a third, and I'm pretty sure they took it off the market and re-released in a special edition where they fixed the frame rate. But other than that, it's pretty rare.
Okay, yeah, but it was the same game.
Yeah, yeah, but I think it was Blockbuster exclusive. I don't know. It's a weird situation with that one. But in this case, I mean, this is a massive Mario game remade in HD. I mean, three of them. I can't, like, I really can't wrap my head around that decision or what their plan is. So I mean, I have to believe that these games will be released in another way. I can't fathom it just going away forever. And obviously the physical edition will rocket up in sales from scalpers.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I just can't fathom that they made these three games, sold 10 million units, and are just going to forget about them. Like I wonder if they'll release them individually on the eShop or what their plan is. I don't know.
But yeah, again, that kind of. I think the 200 million must include download digital titles, like because there's no way even with Animal Crossing to get 200 million is crazy. But I think
It depends though, because does a game like Fortnite count when it's free? Like, does that count as a? I guess. I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know. It might have to be like have an actual transaction or something.
Yeah.
But I think that if that is the case, that like again, for removing Mario, they could be putting up a whole bunch of Nintendo 64 games, a whole bunch of GameCube games, and selling them for $10, $20, $30, and that would boost their unit sales.
Yeah. I mean,
Another thing just to add to that is if they're bringing out a new Switch, they might be showing out or trying to brag about their online features, right? Because everyone knows, and I'm sure Nintendo's aware too, like that's one of the areas that people are often find the weakest for Nintendo systems.
mm-hmm.
So if they come out and say, hey, like this is how we've redone our online infrastructure to get ready for this new system, and here's all these eShop games coming out the day that
exclusively for the 4K Switch, you mean?
Exactly, kind of something like that. We're saying, oh, like they're coming out that day anyways, but you want to experience them on the new system.
It's like, hey, those N64 games you played in the 90s? Now buy a 4K Switch to play them.
Well, I just mean there's again, I'm just trying to think of strategies where people like that will sell those games in that system.
I find it. I don't actually know if putting a N64 game on the eShop for $10, which would be even more expensive than it was on the Wii eShop, just so we know, or Virtual Console shop. I don't think that counts as a sale, as a retail sale. I don't think that counts under the 250 million.
Then I don't know what a retail sale is, because 250 million is even 200 million last year, with Animal Crossing, that number is not reached without digital sales. Like
I think it needs to be also a retail release. Like, you know what I mean? Because a game that's only $10 would never be released in stores because it's not worth the packaging.
I just can't imagine how they reached 200 million without them.
Well, they reached 200 million in 2020 with Animal Crossing and some scraps.
But that's what I'm saying. I don't think they actually did that without digital sales. I think like even with Animal Crossing selling 40 million, let's say, which is not what it sold, there's still 160 million retail games short. You tell me where they got 160 million retail games.
I mean, it's
spread
across so many games, though. I mean, you think about even something like a Luigi's Mansion does another million. Odyssey does another 3 million. Mario Kart does another 8 million.
Okay, but even all of those, you could say combined with, let's say, Animal Crossing outrageous sales is 100 million. Let's just say 100 million, which is outrageously big. Where did the other 100 million retail games come from, if not from those small games?
I mean, it's a good question. I actually don't know. Maybe some of our listeners could probably be screaming right now. All 5 listeners. Or 2 listeners. But I don't know. That's a good question. But I mean, maybe you're right if they re-release, let's say, GameCube games. But I don't see N64. I really don't see them going that route again. Because for one, they sold them for $8 on the Wii. There's no way they can charge more than that now. I think we're looking at a situation where the N64 comes on to like it's kind of like the way we have SNES and NES games from Nintendo from the Switch Online.
Yeah, I could see that for the N64, and then saying, and we're selling GameCube games on the eShop.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. And I mean, I had this dream that they would do these things called like GameCube Pack version 1, and like on that pack would be like 3 games. It'd be like, Pikmin, F-Zero, and
In
like
Eternal Darkness.
and it well, yeah, hopefully. I wish. And Eternal Darkness, and they'd all be just kind of like they wouldn't be redone, but they'd be upgraded the same way that Sunshine was, like emulated to HD.
Yeah.
And then you'd have GameCube controller support, and they'd switch a few button prompts, but it'd be the same exact game, and you'd be able to pay full price for that 3-pack. I actually don't see that happening because selling a 3-pack of random games is weird. If it's all Mario, it makes sense. But I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I don't know if GameCube games is ever going to happen.
Do you think they're gonna make a Zelda triple pack like anniversary similar to the Mario one?
So as far as that goes, I think we talked about this. I believe that this fall we're going to see a double pack of the Wind Waker and Twilight Princess.
Because again, that could boost sales too, right?
Yeah, I mean, then that's where it gets a little bit conflicting because there are rumors about that, and I also don't see those coming out this holiday if Breath of the Wild 2 is also coming out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I have a weird feeling that Breath of the Wild 2 will come out with Switch HD, and I think they're going to come out in March.
That's what I'm leaning on too, and the other option is it's going to be like a September, October, like an early fall, and then in March we'll see the Twilight Princess, the Wind Waker pack,
Yeah, because I was just thinking about other sales, but I think, I'm betting the Mario pack sold crazy well, so I'm assuming they'll make a Zelda one too.
Yeah, I mean, I can also see them selling them individually. I don't know. That's a hard one. That's a hard one to predict. I mean, I also think it might be weird to I mean, I think they're going to want to give Skyward Sword a lot of grace period for sales, but I also think it'd be weird to launch a new console in March, especially if this is related to this 250 million sales. Like if they're expecting a 250 million software sales, I think they really have to get that Switch 4K out this year. And like you, I also don't think that Breath of the Wild 2 is coming without a Switch 2. Sorry, without a Switch HD, 4K, whatever.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, let's move on. I want to touch base on Breath of the Wild 2. I just had a couple questions about that for you.
Sure.
Do you think it will have the name Breath of the Wild 2?
100% no.
Okay, because, I mean, I agree with you. I think it'll have like another subtitle or whatever, another kind of titling. But, they did call Mario Galaxy 2, and they did do, New Super Mario Bros. 2. So if it is,
did they call it Ocarina of Time too?
No, but I mean, if it's taking place in the same setting, and maybe they're thinking, okay, we want to like continue the success of this series.
Did they call it A Link to the Past too?
Well, they called it A Link Between Worlds. So
okay, then I'm saying it. I would believe it to be like a breath of darkness.
Okay, yeah, or Death of the Wild,
or something. Oh yeah, or something completely different. I think it's gonna be something completely different.
Now, what do you think's going to be the major hook to it? I mean, I was thinking about it recently, and just how will playing Breath of the Wild 2 have the same impact as playing Breath of the Wild 1? Like, I mean, for me, that was a huge, impactful moment playing that game. It was kind of like playing Mario 64 for the first time. I don't know if you feel the same. It kind of took my breath away, pun intended. Can Breath of the Wild 2 have that same impact, or will it just be kind of like a marginal improvement?
I think, you want my honest answer, is I think for most people it will be a marginal improvement, but for you it will be mind-blowing.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
I think a hook that could be possible is, one, I think they're going to bring dungeons back in a big way. I think they know a lot of people wanted that. I think they might bring some items in, some more interesting items.
Yep.
And I could, if they're feeling ambitious, I could see them doing the light world, dark world kind of theme and having one half Link and then the dark world, let's say Zelda, or vice versa.
I've heard that theory, yeah.
And I could see that being really cool and having, kind of more of like a time, not necessarily time mechanic, but light world, dark world mechanic like you saw in Link to the Past, where you do something in one and it changes the other and you have to constantly kind of solve puzzles in that kind of style too, which would be cool.
I mean, I think it'll be definitely an evolution of Breath of the Wild. I think you'll see like more density in the quests. You'll see probably like way more cooking, way more items, way more customization.
Yeah, I would say think about the change between Ocarina of Time to Majora's Mask. Did it necessarily get way different or way better? No, but there are some systems in place that were very interesting, that were unique, and things like that. So I wouldn't say is it necessarily an improvement. I would say it's more of an interesting divergent using the same kind of world.
I mean, and I also don't know if it will be the same world. I actually think it'll be some sort of mix of, we saw in the like the only Breath of the Wild 2 trailer we have, like Hyrule Castle kind of like build up into the sky. So I think there'll be some sort of element of like, we're in a different version of Hyrule, and maybe there's like you said, a dark world or like an underground kind of system, open system to underground. Or I think it's gonna feel like an entirely new world. I don't think you're gonna play it and say, oh, this is the same place with like some differences.
To be honest, like I find Breath of the Wild so big that I maybe remember like the plateau in Kakariko Village, but for the most part, like it would feel new to me. So
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see. I mean, I think they're gonna do something different. Like I think things like I don't know, just like when you walk into a fort, like in Breath of the Wild, if there's like a little pop up forest, it would kind of just feel like there was like a group of trees in like a grassy area. It kind of felt a little bit, I don't know, like not dense. I think they're gonna kind of like really build on all of those systems. Like you're gonna see like heavier weather systems, like more rivers, more streams, more rocks, more bushes, more flowers, more things to collect, more little animals. Like it's just gonna be so much fuller.
see, I could see them do things like, oh, we turned the whole desert, so it's no longer a desert, it's now a swamp bog, and oh, the volcano area is now like a mining facility with all these like infrastructure, and I could see them kind of like kind of changing all those kind of four quadrants drastically by changing like their environment or kind of what's happening in them, and like in that sort of way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I also think there will be something that surprises people, because I don't think when they showed it off in what was it, 2019, that they anticipated that we'd be waiting until the end of 2021. I think they were planning to show us something sooner. And even based on some of Aonuma's like little announcements, or little, when he talks to when he showed off Skyward Sword and he said, "Oh, we need more time on Breath of the Wild. We're not showing it today." Like all of that kind of says to me that they maybe went for a bigger ambition with it, and kind of took their and are actually going to do something that we might not expect. Like maybe something as wild as a multiplayer,
Yeah,
or
I was just gonna say co-op.
yeah, like a co-op or some form of online, or some sort of thing where like I can make a quest, or maybe like kind of you suggested it takes somewhat of a Majora's Mask approach, where these NPC quest lines are like really really dense, and lead to dungeons, and lead to and then you have to like follow timelines. Maybe there's time travel. Like who knows, really? I mean, but I think it'll be somewhat surprising. Like, I think when we see that first trailer, we're gonna look at the world and it's gonna be like the grass is purple or something. You know what I mean? Like it's gonna be like a whole new thing. It's not gonna feel like, okay, we're here again. This is how we upgraded the systems.
Oh yeah, I don't think it's gonna feel like that. Yeah.
It's not gonna feel like a new Fallout, or not. Sorry, not
No,
Fallout.
no, yeah,
what's the series? Far Cry. Every game
Far
is this.
Cry, yeah.
Every game is just like the last game with some upgrades. That's Ubisoft for you, right?
Okay, I have a question about Breath of the Wild 2.
Okay.
Do you think we're gonna see Impa, and do you think we're gonna see it as the same version as we saw in Age of Calamity? Like, how do you think there's any links between those kind of new character models that Age of Calamity brought?
No, because Age of Calamity takes place in the past.
I understand that, but Age of Calamity is about kind of time traveling and changing the course of history. And it is canon, and there were the Zelda team working with it's Koei Tecmo, right? Yeah.
Yep.
So I could just see them kind of talking with them about the model, because they want to use that model in their game too, or something similar.
I mean, maybe. It just seems kind of weird that it seems very much to me that Breath of the Wild is kind of the starter. Age of Calamity is like the flashback, and Breath of the Wild 2 is what happens after Breath of the Wild 1. So I just don't know what they're going to do to.
I mean, we're talking about alternate universes and timelines, and you can't imagine.
My feeling, like, to me, some people might rake me over the coals for this. I don't care much for the story in Zelda. It's pretty much like a take stop the evil, save the world type of story. So it kind of I don't really care what the story
Yeah,
is.
I don't really care with the story. I was just curious if you thought that you'd see that Impa again.
I don't think so. I actually think Breath of the Wild 2 will make zero reference to Age of Calamity. I imagine
Zero.
that
You don't think even like an Easter egg?
zero.
Okay, I'm gonna make a bet with you. I think there will be at least an Easter egg.
Maybe an Easter, yeah, maybe an Easter egg like a costume you can get, but I don't know. Like, I mean, it's the same market, but it's different, and also, Breath of the Wild 2 has been in development for so long that it's like I I feel like they would have had bigger and better, loftier plans than to just piggyback off of a spin-off, you know. But who knows? I mean, I'm really excited about it. I can't see it not being good. I don't know, and the longer they take, the better. You know, in a way, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, let's move on here. So let's talk about some recent news. So today there was a big Square-Enix showcase. Did you watch this?
I did not even know it was happening until you told me that some of the news.
Okay, well, I mean, you must have seen a few of the announcements.
Yeah, I've seen the trailers of a few of them now.
So, like, let's just go through some of these bigger announcements, I guess. The first one was there's this one game that I watched it for the most part. I kind of was watching in the background, but there's this game called Balan Wonderland or Balan Wonderland. Have you heard of this?
I've heard of the name in some forums, but I actually haven't. Balan Wonderworld.
Yeah.
But I haven't actually seen any footage or gameplay of it at all.
Well, they showed it. It comes out in March, and it's coming to Switch as well as other systems. But it looks kind of like a mix between Sackboy's Adventure and Mario 3D World, like a dedicated two-player platformer adventure. And it looked pretty good. That's why I was just kind of wondering. Kind of came out of nowhere.
Was there a preview or a beta or something or a demo?
I feel like there was. I mean, I thought this game was like already out. But I
could have sworn I saw a forum or a thread about this, so I don't know about it, but it looks kind of fun. I'm watching a video right now. Looks cool.
Yeah, it does actually look pretty good, and I might be one of those, I don't know, ones to keep an eye on. The other thing they announced was Marvel's Avengers is getting some expansions. I don't care about this at all. Do you?
I am less than I don't care. It's like I actively don't care.
Okay, yeah, me too. But I think it is kind of funny that Square-Enix is going to continue to support this game where, what was it, a week ago that EA announced they were not going to continue to support Anthem. So it's like,
yeah,
it's just kind of funny. And I got to give them some credit for sticking to it. I know the game hasn't reached the sales potential they want, and I heard it wasn't that great, but at least they're sticking with it, right? It's kind of something to be said about that.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of contract they have with Disney or Marvel for how much funding or what the situation is in that kind of regard. So they might have to stay on it.
Yeah, you're right.
Right? They might be like legally obligated to work on it for the 3 years of content updates or something. Mm-hmm. So who knows? But yeah, I mean, for those that love the game, the few and far between, like, that's awesome, but doesn't interest me at all.
I mean, I don't really play a lot of games as a service games, but I find that it seems to me that if they don't really catch on in that first year, that there's nothing they can do to really get it back. Do you know what I mean? And the few examples I've seen, I mean, I know Final Fantasy XIV launched in a terrible state, and over the years they patched it and added to it and eventually became something people liked, but it just doesn't seem like games as a service can have a poor launch and really it's a small chance they're going to reach success after that, you know? And
I think right now it's so competitive in that field with some huge juggernauts that are just mainstays now that, to get in there, it can be very hard to break in even with those AAA $100 million plus kind of budget.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't think it's necessarily, throw money at it and hope it works. I think you really need to somehow get the right mix of everything to really break into that market where you have those huge games already as a service.
Yeah, I mean, going back a few E3s ago when they first kind of were talking about this Marvel Avengers game, because it is from Eidos, right? Or Crystal Dynamics. Isn't it the Tomb Raider team that made them? Or made Avengers? I think. Like, it's a talented team. And, I mean, there's a moment in time where I thought this could be actually exciting as, like, a single player, like, high quality, third person action game with the Marvel series. But then as soon as I heard that it was a game as a service, I lost all interest immediately. I don't care for those types of things.
I know I would have liked it if it was more like a Ultimate Alliance, like
Yeah.
not necessarily the same, like, but that kind of story driven. You got to play all 7 characters or whatever, and you play like a good 15-hour story. I would have liked that.
I think the hard thing with series like Avengers is that there's so many different characters with such a variety of movesets that it's like you can't. It's not like making a Spider-Man game where you can just focus on this Spider-Man's moveset, or like a Bayonetta game where you're focusing on one, or a Devil May Cry. I was gonna say it'd be cool if they kind of made a Marvel game like a Devil May Cry action game, like a character action game.
I thought this was kind of what that was.
Well, it sort of is, except it's online, and it's grinding, games as a service,
Yeah, it has
microtransaction fest.
and it's loot based, which I don't like either.
Yeah, and
But
the other thing too is like it's not like it looks a little bit watered down. Where something like Bayonetta or Devil May Cry, you have all this like depth in your fighting. This game had to incorporate Hulk and Thor and whoever else, and it's just like obviously they're gonna have to water down the enemy design to accompany to accompany all these different characters. So it's like ensemble casts don't really. I don't think having an ensemble cast is a good thing for a video game in general.
I was thinking the same thing and about creating a Marvel game or an Avengers game, let's say. Why do they make it such a kind of a big scope when the real selling point is playing the heroes? So like, why not make a RPG or a strategy kind of tabletop SRPG where it's you don't need to have refined character. You just need all the characters in the game. You don't actually have to have them all have unique movesets. Mm-hmm. Or you make it like a fighting game like Injustice, where you don't have to have those big worlds or big maps or big storyline. So you can focus on kind of making all 40 characters.
Yeah, and focus on the variety. I always thought that would be cool, and I always had one of my dream games that I know will never happen is Marvel contracting Sakurai and Team Sora to make either like a big Smash Bros expansion, like a Marvel expansion that has 15 characters and 20 levels, and you can download it as a part of Smash Bros, or its own individual game like Super Smash Bros Marvel, kind of thing. I think it fits perfectly. Like it's the perfect structure for that kind of thing. Or the other thing, we'd already mentioned Hyrule Warriors, like a Dynasty Warriors Avengers game could be really cool too.
Oh, that would be cool. Yeah, like a 1 versus 100 kind of brawler.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, probably wouldn't buy it anyways. So I would buy it if it was Sakurai made it. I would buy it. But pretty much other than that, probably not. Okay, so some of the other announcements. There was Life is Strange: True Colors, which is coming out this year. You played this Life is Strange game. I don't know anything about it, so tell me about it.
So I've played the first one, and I've started the kind of. It's not the official sequel. It's kind of like the side story of the first one called Before the Storm.
Okay.
And I want to get the second one.
So sorry. Is this new one the third one then, or is this like
it doesn't actually say 3? So I don't really know how their naming system's going anymore. But there was 1, and then there was Before the Storm, which is like a side story, and then there was an official 2 with new characters.
Okay.
Like Before the Storm had the same characters as 1.
Okay. What kind of game is it? What is it? It's like a walking, talking simulator?
It's kind of like just a story where you get to choose options. It's kind of like I'm just thinking of games you've played, like Until Dawn almost, but not scary. You know what I mean? It's kind of like there's a lot of cutscenes in story, and you kind of choose some actions, and it leads to different kind of outcomes.
Okay.
So their kind of theme is that the character you play, always has a weird paranormal special ability. Mm-hmm. So in the first one, you have the ability to rewind time. So you can do an action, and you can rewind time and see the outcome, and then rewind it and try a different action and rewind and kind of pick which one is the best.
Okay.
But you can only rewind so far, so you don't know how you don't know all the repercussions of your choice. You just kind of see the immediate consequence. Mm-hmm. And you're a teenager, and you meet your lifelong friend from the past. You move back to your hometown, and then there's problems with parents abusing, and then there's I think a murder. I can't quite remember. It's always kind of
it's more serious themes though, right?
It's
themes of
more
suicide.
It's very kind of it's like kind of a teen mental health kind of game is what I would say. It's very. I think that's why it resonated with a lot of people, and people raved about it. The other thing that the reason I really like it is they use really great music. So they use kind of like the indie and folk acoustic kind of vibe. So I always like the music in the games. The story is okay. The graphics are okay. Like the story's not bad, but it's fun. Yeah. So in the second one,
full price, like full retail price games?
So that's what was interesting. The first one and I think the second one are both they were released as episodes. So it was like episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or whatever, and they were $5 or 20 or $10 each. I think they were $5 or even less than that each. And but this new one apparently is being sold as a full price game.
Okay, and also I've just from reading some other impressions, apparently this new one, the graphics are like getting a major upgrade. Like a lot of the fans of the series were like, "Whoa, this looks really good."
Yeah, so I think if they're selling it as a full priced game, not episodes, as one full game, they kind of had to justify that by saying, look at all these improvements. Like this is a real game now, not just kind of as an indie game throwing out some, episodes.
I mean, I think it is cool that this type of game, though, I don't know if it really appeals to me, but this type of game that can grow such a big audience that it can become a major release, like that just felt like, it feels like that wouldn't have happened in other times,
Yeah, I think it honestly is the themes that are in the games. They just hit the right note. Like I haven't played the second one, but the first one, from a lot of people from the age of 14 to, I mean, I'm going to say up to 30 or even 25, it probably hits home for a lot of these people. So, and people that like stories are going to like that game. You know what I mean?
And sorry, Life is Strange, it's on the PS4?
I have it on the PS4. I think it might also be on Steam and
Xbox.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not 100% sure.
I know that there's rumors that that the originals are going to come to Switch, but
I didn't hear that rumor. That's cool.
I
can bring home the first one if you want to try it.
You have it on disc? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'll give it a try. I mean, I don't love those kind of games, but
me neither. It's the only one I actually played, but I enjoyed it.
Okay, I'll give it a try. Another thing they showed off, I think this is probably the biggest. Well, actually, I'm going to do another small announcement that Square said today before the big one. Did you know about this Tomb Raider reboot trilogy is now out? So it's all 3 games with all the DLC. It's available now on Xbox and PS5, and it is only $20 right now.
It's DLC. It's download though. Only?
I believe it's download only, yeah. So it's like you can, but it's for a limited time, $20. I just found out about this and I'm like, whoa, $20. Like, maybe I should just grab that,
I would grab that. It's like, honestly, like the first game's pretty fun. I think the first game alone is worth $20. The third game's worth $0 to me, but
wow.
It's just, I mean, let me put it this way. If you think about, it's not a bad game, but I just know you really care about your time. It's not a game that you're going to find your time is worth playing that game. It's like it's a 7.
You know what? If I can try 1 or 2 of them with my brain off one Saturday night for like a few hours, I probably got my $20 worth.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like like there's definitely $20 worth of content there. I don't think it's the third game though. I think it's the first game is probably the most fun.
Okay, I mean I'll have to contemplate that because you buy something and a week later it's on Game Pass, right? So
yeah, like let me put it this way: I would never buy this. I have all 3 games on disc, and I don't necessarily regret any of them, buying any of them. But I would never get this to play the DLC. Like I would never replay these games.
Yeah, I mean they kind of just seem like derivative Uncharted's.
Yeah, like they're kind of a fun. You have nothing else to play. They're fun action, turn your brain off, but. Yeah, there's not much there.
Okay, so now this is to me the most awesome announcement of the entire thing. I don't know if you've heard about this yet. This game called Forsaken.
Forspoken.
Sorry, Forspoken. Forsaken's an N64 game. Okay, Forspoken. Not the best name. It was originally called Project Athia. Yeah. I hadn't really heard about this, but it kind of looks amazing. It like has this kind of Final Fantasy 15 open world look, but like with really fast paced traversal. It's got a black female lead, which is a huge deal. Like that, no AAA game has ever had that, so that's pretty noteworthy. I think it looks really cool. It has a 2022 release date, and interestingly, it's not coming to Xbox. So, did you check this out? You see this trailer?
Yeah, I saw the trailer. I think 2022 is not likely.
Well, knowing Square, yeah.
Yeah, maybe 2025, 2026.
Maybe 3022.
But yeah, I thought it looked really cool. I didn't really the cutscene itself, where she's hiding from the dragon, did nothing for me. I don't think
Same.
it was the
Cutscenes do
mocap.
nothing for me. If
And
developers are listening, cutscenes do nothing for us.
not just that, but I just thought the mocap wasn't very well done. I just thought it kind of looked kind of stale and dead.
Yeah.
But the gameplay, you hit the exact same notes that I was going to say. You said the same thing, which is the traversal looks so fun. And to me, if I'm going to have a big open world, I want to be able to have fun moving through it. And that reminds me of the game Infamous Second Son for the PS4.
Yep.
That game, forget,
You
or
mean
even Spite.
I love that game, by the way.
Infamous?
Infamous Second Son. I didn't play the first two so much on PS3, but that third one on PS4, I beat the whole thing. It was great.
Yeah, I beat the whole game twice. Yeah, it's amazing. And again, there's issues with that game. There's issues with Spider-Man, and I'm sure there'll be issues with this game.
Different developers, by the way.
Of course.
Yeah.
All three of them. But I just mean, if you have fun moving around the world, I can find myself having fun in the game. You know what I mean? Like, I just want to have fun going far distances and doing crazy jumps and flying around or whatever it is.
Yep.
That is fun to me, so I'm really excited for this game.
Yeah, same. I mean, I think that's part of what I love about games is like character movement being fun. Making stylish action. I'm less of a fan of games where you just kind of run across a giant field and then you get to the action.
When you feel glued to the ground, it gets really boring.
Yeah, I mean, this looked really cool. It looks still a little bit early. Like the open world didn't look that dense, but I don't know. I thought it looked really cool, and I'm all about new franchises. I mean, it being from Square-Enix, I don't know which of their developers it is, but I don't usually love their games, so I don't know. You know what I mean? They'll probably find some way to ruin it.
It's tough because I think of things like Final Fantasy 15. And Final Fantasy 15 has a huge open world, and it is barren for a lot of it, and it is a lot of like traveling where it's like, oh, there's nothing but traveling right now, like there's nothing of interest. So I worry about that, and I think they could do a good story, especially since they have nothing like to kind of go off of. It's kind of a brand new idea.
Yeah.
So hopefully, if it's a good story and they have a little bit more stuff to do than just kind of a barren world, I could see being really good. Those are the only really downfalls that I had with Final Fantasy 15.
Okay. Well, yeah. Anyways, it's something to keep on my radar. The one thing I did notice was it's not coming to Xbox, so it kind of made me start to think about. I mean, I don't have a PS5 yet, but it's interesting to see that this generation seems to be there's more. I don't know about more exclusives, but it seems like some of these developers are leaning PS5.
I mean, it could be also a situation of Sony saying, "Oh my gosh, Microsoft just bought Bethesda, ZeniMax. We need to get a whole bunch of exclusives today."
That's kind of what I was thinking. Like, I actually think Sony basically penned a deal with Square-Enix, maybe even before the Bethesda deal was announced. Like, they probably came into the PS5 and said, "Okay, let's get with our closest partner, Square-Enix, and let's lock down a year of exclusive on Final Fantasy 16. Let's lock down some of their other exclusives." I just thought that was interesting, and how Square Enix seems to be moving in that direction of exclusives. Like, they release exclusives for Switch, exclusives for PS4, or for Sony, and then like later on those games will come out again. Like, I don't doubt that Final Fantasy VII Remake will eventually come to Xbox and eventually come to Switch too. But it's just interesting how they've become kind of like a third party that, especially for some of these JRPGs, are leaning on exclusivity.
Yeah, but I think it's a good way to kind of get a safety net of finances, because if you need you need a kind of a company to oversee and money hat you a little bit.
Yeah, I agree, and it kind of goes back. It's funny to think about that Microsoft now owns ZeniMax, and based on some of the things Phil Spencer said the other day in that interview, we can kind of surmise that most of Bethesda's development is going to be exclusive to Xbox.
I think it's all going to be exclusive after these next two games or whatever they are.
Yeah, I mean, I think they'll still be like, Skyrim Online for iPhones, but
Oh yeah, sorry, but I mean, like, you won't see another game on.
I think Deathloop will probably be it.
And Ghostwire Tokyo, I think, is what they said.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I think in general, like that Western RPG, the Fallout, the Elder Scrolls, is it called Starfield?
Yeah, Starfield. Yeah.
Those are going to be now tentpole Xbox releases.
Agreed.
And part of me is like, I don't like that. Like, I kind of prefer in the past where it's like, okay, you have a PlayStation or an Xbox, you're going to get most of those games. But now it's like, wow, you really are like these consoles really are bolstering their like big tentpole exclusives. You know
I
what I
know
mean?
it's getting. I mean, again, I also like the idea of, or I don't like the idea of acquisition and kind of having monopolies.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it is kind of nice to say, wow, like there's a legitimate reason that I am driven to buy an Xbox. Like, and it's a completely different reason than buying a PlayStation. Like, I can't just buy one. Like, it really is almost. I'm almost at the point where I can't just have one of the two.
Yeah, same here. I mean, looking at some of these games being announced, I'm like, well, I need to get a PS5 eventually.
And I'm the same way about Xbox. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other thing I will say about Xbox that's nice is that I will never need to buy any of these games. Like they're all going to be on Game Pass. So, and like for the like you, if you ever really did want to kind of like come into the Xbox world at like a low cost, you could just buy an Xbox Series X, or sorry, Series
Series
S,
S. Yeah.
and then get Game Pass for 5 months, play those games, unload
And
your
then
Game
sell
Pass,
it. Yeah.
and then
Sell
or
it.
just wait till you need to want to get Game Pass again, and then and it keeps all your saves.
Yeah.
It's pretty smart. But I also back to what we were talking about with exclusives. It is also the factor that when a game is developed for multiple consoles, like usually it's like not optimized. So the idea that a new, especially with Bethesda, because we know like they're not the kings of optimization, that like
Yeah.
a new Elder Scroll will now be coming to an exclusive platform, and also with Microsoft's first party publishing, like they're not going to want to release a broken game, you know. So I think that actually bodes well. Like I actually, in a weird way, I kind of like exclusives. And then like maybe like later on ports. And I was thinking about this. There's that Crash Bandicoot 4, which came out, and it came out last fall for all PS4, Xbox, PC. And and it didn't do very well. And I just started to think, what if it was a PlayStation exclusive? What if then all of a sudden it becomes kind of like every PlayStation fan wants to look at it and eyeball it, and all of a sudden Sony's
Yeah.
going to market it, and all of a sudden it becomes this kind of like my system's better feeling, so there is this kind of weird thing where exclusives get more eyeballs, where when it's multi-platform, it just doesn't seem all that special.
Oh, I agree. When you look at games, even the canceled Scalebound game that I think it was Platinum Games that was going to make
Yep.
that.
Yep.
People wanted that game just because it was exclusive. It was coming to Xbox. The Platinum game coming to Xbox. People were like crazy about it. It got canceled, unfortunately, but I agree with you where
It looked bad. I thought it looked bad.
Yeah, I thought it was a cool idea. I thought it looked rough around the edges, but I thought they could refine it. But again, I agree with you with the idea that exclusivity actually, in a weird way, drives desire.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I don't think, for example, like Xenoblade 2, and if it was multi-platform, like I don't know if it would have gotten the same. It wouldn't have been put on a pedestal. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And like a lot of things like that. So there's an interesting, I don't know, approach to these things, and like even something like Octopath Traveler, um, it was basically a Switch exclusive, sold 2 million copies, and like which is insane, and became kind of like a big 2018 Switch release. Now it's coming out to everything else, no one cares, but at the time it really gave that game a spotlight. So there's something to be said about exclusives and the way like a platform holder will use it to kind of bolster their image. So especially with higher budgets of these games, it almost makes sense to go that direction in a weird way, you know? But yeah, okay, so let's move on. I understand that it's your birthday on Sunday.
yeah.
So this is what I call birthday edition. So it's your birthday coming up. Well, why don't you tell one? I want to hear about. Do you hope to get any games and for your birthday? And B, I also want to hear about if you ever had any like birthday video game memories, like games you got, consoles you got, like that kind of thing. I mean, I certainly have them. So
Yeah.
us.
So, sorry, what was the first question?
Well, what do you hope to get any games on your birthday?
Oh yeah, I don't think I'll get any games. Like I might get some money to go out and get games myself, or I mean, I might buy myself a game. I don't think I'm at the age where people are buying me out games very often. But
True.
I have a wish list on Amazon, so I might pick up one or two of the cheap games that I have.
What are you looking for? Like what games?
I mean, Life is Strange 2 is up there. I want to play Alien Isolation, Hellblade, Mortal Shell, the Dishonored, one of the Dishonored games, Tony Hawk's Pro Skaters 1 and 2 for the PS5, Ghost of Tsushima. Like, I have a little list of about 15 games or so.
Okay, no Switch games.
I actually do. I have 3D World, Bowser's Fury on here because I actually do want to play that game.
I can't recommend that enough. By the way, it's one. It's
yeah,
probably,
I know. I really want to play that. I'm waiting. I have a backlog still, and I'm just kind of waiting for, maybe I can find it used or cheap in a couple months or something.
Yeah.
And as far as birthday memories, I have two with regards to video games. One is I remember getting the PS2 on my birthday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you talked about that last time.
Yeah, I opened all the presents and it was the last one hidden behind the couch. It was really cool. The other one I have is more of a funny story where I got really upset on my birthday. Is we were playing the first Mario Party for the N64.
I remember this, yes.
Yeah, and it was all four of us. There's four in our family, 4 kids. And it was my game on my birthday, and I was losing because I'm the youngest. I was, of course, losing and dead last. And all 3 of my siblings are laughing at me, and I was so upset that I was losing that I threw the controller at the wall or the ground or something. And I think I broke the controller, and I was like crying because I was losing in Mario Party on my birthday.
And that's Mario Party for you, right?
Yeah.
Probably the funny thing is though, if you had just chilled, you probably would have won because we all know at the end of those games, it's like, oh, someone who lost the most, so you got a star,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. I actually remember that. I remember we had all like different color N64 controllers. That was funny. I don't think we ever had Mario Party 2 or 3 for N64, did we?
We never had 2 or 3. I think we rented one of them because I do remember playing one of them, like the one with the cowboy and the items.
Yeah, I remember renting the one or two of the GameCube ones as well. But I don't really remember ever buying a Mario Party after that first one.
Yeah, after the first one, I think I played. It was either 9 or 10. That's
for Wii U.
The Wii, right?
The Wii had 8 and 9.
There's one where you're driving in a car. And
that's 9.
Okay, and you all move together, and after I played that, I realized how bad Mario Party had gotten.
Yeah, but I mean, I think 10 kept in the car, but the new one, Super Mario Party, have you played it on Switch?
No, I think it looks good. I'm excited, hopefully, if they make a sequel. I just didn't end up picking that one up, because I thought, the reason I didn't actually is because I heard the maps were really boring. So I was hoping that if they make a sequel, they make more interesting maps, because then I'll get it for sure.
No, so I gotta say, I played it with friends. There's only 4 maps, and they are very boring. But the actual minigames are well done. Like they're like the best designed minigames. Like there's not as many duds, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see. I mean, Mario Party's always, it's like one of those things I want to have, but it always just is somewhat flawed in a way that I don't want it.
Yeah, I agree.
Cool. Okay. So this is our "What have you been playing" segment. What have you been playing recently? It's such a bad segue.
So I've been playing kind of the same thing as before. I'm still kind of working through them. I finished Little Nightmares 2.
Nice.
Or sorry, Little Nightmares 1.
Okay, I started it, by the way, and I the first like 20 minutes or so, I thought it was awesome. Like
it's an awesome game. There's some parts that are frustrating or rough around the edges, but I think it was amazing. I loved the game.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was 3D. I thought it was like inside 3D graphics, but 2D side scrolling. I didn't realize you had like full range of motion.
Yeah. There's times where that will be frustrating.
And it's dark. It's dark.
Again, like dark as in thematically or like literally?
Thematically. Like I only played the first 20 minutes and there was a guy hanging.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of dark stuff.
I was like, this is not a kid's game.
I honestly, I felt the same way. It's not a kid's game. But, so I beat that. So now I'm trying to finish up a few more indie games that I have on the Switch. So I've reinstalled Golf Story and I have Transistor. And I was playing a bit of Smash Bros. The Adventure mode, and
cool.
I'm still playing the Hitman trilogy.
Cool.
How about you?
So I've been playing a few games. I got Dirt 5 for Xbox Game Pass, which is like a racing game in the mud.
Yeah, I saw that. That's cool.
I've recently just kind of like fallen into these racing games. Like I really like Forza Horizon. I really like Dirt 5, and it's just like weirdly addictive, and it's kind of just like brain off, best graphics you can get kind of games. And Dirt 5 has like a 120 frames mode.
Oh, cool.
And it just feels great to play, and like the rumble's great, and it's like really muddy, like you're racing through mud, so you kind of get mud all over your car all the time. And I mean, these are games that I would never have bought for full price, but now that I have Game Pass, I can just like kind of play them more casually. And man, they're stunning looking. I'm like, I found myself more glued to this game than I expected. Dirt 5. I mean, it's a new release. It's on Game Pass already. I also downloaded Yakuza 0.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I don't really know. My friend just said you gotta try it, and this is the one to jump into. And I played maybe the first hour or two, and it's very heavily story driven. So you really do have like the first 45 minutes you're just watching like cutscenes and walking to the spot and talking, but it seems to be developing a really interesting and good story, and it's kind of like it feels like this weird like Dreamcast game. It's hard to explain. Like it doesn't feel modern in a certain way.
Yeah, I know. I think I've seen a lot of videos about it, so I think I kind of know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but I mean, my understanding is it's beloved, and it's even like I believe it's going to open up and give you a lot more freedom and a lot like in the few hours I've already gotten in fights, I've already done karaoke, I've already like and you're pulled into like kind of a mystery. I'm actually like I'm excited to see where it goes. The gameplay hasn't really hooked me, and I'm more of a gameplay guy than a story guy, so we'll see. The other thing I've been playing is I recently got Crash Bandicoot 4 on the Switch.
Oh yeah, I'm waiting for it to go on sale, but I really want to get that. How is it?
It's good. I mean, it wasn't full price. It was a little bit discounted, but I'm really liking it. I got it on Switch because I could bring it portably with me, and it seems to run really well. I mean, as someone who's used to playing games like Mario and Donkey Kong, it's kind of hard to go to like another platformer, you know? I felt like Astrobot did it really well, and even like Jack and Daxter is pretty good. But Crash Bandicoot's always felt a bit stiff to me.
I was going to use the same word. It feels stiff. Yeah.
It feels stiff, and it feels like there's like this like input kind of latency that doesn't really work out, and like some of the hit detection just doesn't feel clean.
I don't find the jump. The jump just doesn't feel good.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't feel great. I mean, I will say this is the best one I've played. Like
Okay.
I'll preface this. I loved it back on the PlayStation. Like I played all three of them. Like I really liked it back then because I was a kid and it was simpler, and you are more forgiving. But now, you know, I'm a little less forgiving, so I'm noticing some of these problems. But it also is clearly the best one. Like there's lots of variety. The levels are dense with detail and geometry, even on the Switch. It's like I'm just having fun with it. I'd say something like the ukulele platformer, the 2D, what was it called, ukulele and the something
In
layer.
the impossible layer.
Yeah, I would say it's better than that.
Okay.
So this is kind of like what I would call like B tier platformers, like not quite Mario, but I mean I'm still having fun with it, and it's nice to have just kind of a more simpler linear platformer.
Yeah. You definitely should try Sackboy when you get the chance.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to because that game looked really awesome to me. But it is hard to like, I have 3D World on my system, which is a 1080, 60 frame per second game that's like beautiful and controls wonderfully. And then I go to Crash Bandicoot and it's like, okay, 30 frames, and it's like a little bit of a weird hit detection. And it's one of those games where like they have to like make the shadow below you like not only like an obvious shadow, but they put like a white circle around the shadow. So like when you jump, you can see that where the shadow's gonna land. The one thing I will say is it's like cruel how hard it is already. So
Oh, really?
I don't know. We'll see. I love platformers. And the last thing I've been playing, obviously Smash Brothers, but I wanted to tell you something that I kind of found in Smash Bros that I thought was really fun. And what I've been doing is I've been going through the DLC Fighters Pass. And what I do is I take like Min Min or something, and I'll take her, fight her on her stage at level 9. And I've been kind of going through all the DLC characters that way, and it's kind of just like it's like really fun.
Wait. So you do like your Min Min fighting a Min Min?
No, it'll be like I'm anybody. Like I'll be one of my mains, fighting like Min Min and Min Min stage, or fighting Banjo on Banjo stage, or you know what I mean, or fighting Terry on Terry stage.
So just a normal match.
Yeah, and you can't really do that with the regular characters because they don't really come with stages. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's like who's Mario's stage? He's got like 10 of them. But in these cases, like they have very dedicated stages, so it is cool to just kind of experience that DLC this way. But I also feel like, and test this out and tell me if I'm wrong, but I think they like made the AI better for the DLC fighters, because they seem way harder than level 9s of the other fighters.
Oh, I just find level 9's hard in this game. Period.
True, I think it depends on who it is. Like some of them you can kind of you can cheese them a bit. But who was it? I think it was. I think I was able to beat Sephiroth, but the rest of them absolutely destroyed me, and I got destroyed by Pyra and Mithra, like destroyed. And also it's fun to play like Minecraft Steve and kind of see what it's like to get your ass whooped by a Minecraft Steve, you know?
Yeah.
So I encourage you to try that. It's fun. Like it's a good challenge to try to like do all the DLC fighters that way.
Okay, that sounds fun. And I haven't played this game yet, but I'm getting a new game next week, which is the It Takes Two game. So I'll tell you about that.
That comes out next week. Okay, and you're getting it on PS5?
It's PS4, but it has a PS5 upgrade.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to buy any games for the next little bit. I have a lot to play, a lot of Game Pass to do.
Yeah, I have that, and then Pokemon Snap, and that's really it.
Yeah, it comes out in a little. I think it's coming out pretty close. It's like a month away.
Yeah, a month. Yep.
Sweet. Well, that's pretty much it for this week. We're out of time.
A little bit over time, but yeah.
Well, yeah, we have no time.
Yeah.
If you're listening and you listened to the end, congratulations, you're the first person. Please,
one and only.
If you listen to this, please leave us a comment. Let us know you're out there, because we're just starting this thing up and we don't really know if anyone's listening. But also, leave a nice review, comment, all that stuff. Let us know. If you leave a comment and talk to us, or ask a question, we will definitely address it in our next podcast in 2 weeks.
Yep.
Okay, Derek, anything else?
That's it. Have a good one.
Okay, have a happy birthday on Sunday.
Thanks so much.
All right. Cheers, everybody.
See ya.